Welcome, sisters. We're so glad you could join us for our Lunch and Learn webinar, Negotiation Nation, the Art of Salary Negotiation. Salary negotiation can be an extremely hard concept to handle, especially as a new employee entering the workforce. People often do not know the right questions to ask or the appropriate time to ask them. Even more so, they don't have the tools to push for what they are worth and deserve. Learn tips and strategies today to help get you started off on the right foot. My name is Megan Foster, and I serve as the Associate Director of Education and Leadership for Fraternity Headquarters. This program is brought to you by A Clear Vision of Life, the Wellbeing Program, a program by alumni for alumni. Alumni members can participate in challenges in the 5 areas of well-being as identified in the book, Wellbeing, the 5 Essential Elements. They are purpose well-being, financial well-being, community well-being, physical well-being, and social well-being. When a person has high well-being in each of these areas, it leads to a healthy and more fulfilling life. As a lifelong member in Alpha Xi Delta, this helps us realize our vision of inspiring women to realize their potential, no matter what age or stage of life they are experiencing. 5 volunteer sisters, including one you'll meet in just a few minutes, create challenges that address each of these 5 areas 6 times per year. Challenges are released on even-numbered months and are highlighted in the corresponding alumni newsletter. Alumni can choose to participate as their time and interest allows, as the challenges are not interconnected, nor do they build on each other, so it really is like a choose-your-own adventure. Participate as often or as little as you'd like. Once you do a challenge, there's a quick survey to complete that automatically enters you for a prize, and the prizes are pretty great. Now, without further waiting, I'll introduce Jordan, and she will then introduce today's expert. Jordan?
Hi, my name is Jordan Kovlan. I am a sister of the Kent State University chapter, the Beta Tau chapter. I am going to be moderating for you today, along with introducing you to our expert in the field. I just want to tell you a little bit about my role. So for the past year, I've served on the as a volunteer on the well-being team, and I focus mostly on financial well-being. So I've been presenting you challenges over the past year, focusing on financial well-being. So next, I'd like to introduce you to Sandy. Sandy Edwards is a talent and communications manager for Simplify Compliance in Nashville, Tennessee. As a senior certified professional of the Society for Human Resources Management, she oversees the talent acquisition and management process for the company, including learning and organizational development and internal communications. An initiate of our Z chapter at the University of Kentucky, she chairs the Committee of Leadership. Previously, she served 2 terms as national president and over 20 years in a variety of roles at the local, regional, and national level. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Jordan.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, ready to go.
Great. So the format today is going to be, I'm going to ask you a few questions here and there and let you respond based on your expertise in the field.
Sounds good.
So to start off, I'm going to ask you, if a company asks what your salary requirements are, what is an appropriate way to respond?
If this is going to be your first real job after graduating from college, I think it's important that you let the prospective employer know that you understand it's an entry-level position, that you're excited about the career opportunity, and that you feel you have the skill set that will add value and make a positive impact to their business. It's really difficult for you at that point to determine how to assess what entry-level positions pay across the industry. I think your intention is to accept a position to start in your chosen career field. Now, if you've been out in your field for some time, you may be better equipped to answer this question. You could simply state what your current salary is and what % increase or extra money you feel would be acceptable for you to consider switching jobs, especially based on what this new position would entail, even if it's a lateral move. People change jobs for many reasons, and it's not just for salary. What I want you to be aware of is that there are some laws changing in some states where it's soon going to be illegal to ask candidates what their current salary is. One of those states is Massachusetts. I don't know whether it goes into effect in 2018 or 19. So if you're in that area of the country, just be aware that may be coming your way.
Great. So especially our sisters listening from Massachusetts, that's going to be important for them to know. So the next question I have for you is, at what point in the hiring process should salary be brought up?
As a recruiter, and I've done this over several decades, typically the hiring process starts with a phone screen. And if you get past that, there's probably going to be an on-site interview. It could be a video interview depending on your location and the company's location. It might be a remote position. And sometimes a recruiter will ask you about your salary requirements during the initial phone screen. If not, continue with the interview process and make salary one of the last items discussed. What you want to convey to your prospective employer is that you're all about the position and how you can add value, help them solve a business problem, create a streamlined process or a new product development. And it's not that you're all about the salary.
Great. That makes a lot of sense. So the next question I have for you today is, what types of things should you research to know what salary you should be asking for as a candidate?
Okay. What I'm providing you with today is kind of broad brushstrokes. And if you've never been through the process, this is just like a beginning phase one for you to learn. You're going to have to do some research on companies, and I can give you access. Anybody can get access to salary.com, but that's where I would go if I were you. It's a public website, salary.com. The numbers there will be a bit inflated, but it serves as a free guide offered to the public. You'll be able to easily navigate the site. You can find brief job descriptions, cities of choice. It will give you a salary range. I do caution, I want you to keep in mind, if you're new to corporate America, you will probably be worth closer to the minimum of the quartile, like the 10th percent quartile that they have when they show you the salary range. And if you've been working for a few years, you might fit closer to the 25th percentile. But if you're extremely experienced as a professional, you're probably going to come in closer to the 75th percentile. It's not a perfect science, but salary.com could at least give you some framework. And remember, I believe the salaries out there are inflated.
Great. So the salary.com might be a good starting point for our candidates.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So should you always attempt to negotiate?
I think that varies depending on the type of position you're applying for. If you're going for a sales position, probably so, because the art of negotiation is what sales is all about, and they might expect you to do that, thinking that's part of the skill set you're bringing to the job. If you're interviewing for a government job that's locked into certain job grades or certain step levels, negotiation may not get you anywhere because this is the job and this is what it pays. Same may go for a nonprofit position. So there may not be the room for negotiation for those types of positions.
Okay. So this next question kind of ties into that. So if someone does mention that there's no salary negotiation for a certain position, what should you do?
That's really totally up to you. I guess I would have you think about asking yourself the following question. How badly do you want this position? Are you willing to take less than you originally wanted because this company is where you've always wanted to work? Do you have a 5-year plan that includes doing a stint at company XYZ and doing a certain job in order to get to your next level? Are you using it as a stepping stone? It's okay to take a lesser paying job if you really want to gain the experience to catapult your career a few years down the road. So I don't want the no salary negotiation to be a deal breaker for you. I guess that's what I would be saying.
Right. That makes total sense. So are there certain phrases someone should use when they're talking about salary negotiation?
I can tell you as a recruiter what I use, and you might hear from another recruiter, when I try to broach that subject, and some candidates are more forthcoming than others, but I just simply ask, hey, tell me about your current compensation and how it works. Is it an hourly based pay? Is it a salaried position? Do you receive any commission or bonus? And I try to ask all of those questions kind of at once in a lump sum, because that lets the person being interviewed know that, hey, tell me what you feel comfortable with. Now, people that are currently employed, they oftentimes will just go ahead and tell me. They say, I currently have a hourly rate of $15 per hour. And I base it on a 40-hour week, so I can tell, okay, you're making somewhere around $31,000 a year. Someone else may say, yeah, but we got a $500 bonus at the end of the year. Okay, then they do get something, we'll add that on. Someone else may say, my weekly salary is $800 and there's no commission or bonus opportunity. So that just gives me like, okay, now I know where they're at. And there are other times I'll be on the phone with someone who really wants the position and realizes it may be a step back. And they say, look, I understand that I currently make $50,000 a year, and I know this position probably pays less, but I'm willing to compromise, and let's say $42,000. But I don't feel that I can accept a position for any less than that. You know, my skill set and my experience warrants at least that. I think the question you need to ask yourself is, do some homework before you get to this point. What do you need for your minimum cost of living? What is your rent? What's your car payment, your utilities, things like that? It's possible, especially if you're just getting out of college, you may have to take a second job in addition to an entry-level position just to get through the first year or so. You may have to work a second job, and that's okay too. It's all about getting the experience.
Great, thank you. So the next question I have for you is, if a range is stated, how do you appropriately estimate what you're worth as a candidate?
You need to know that ranges will vary widely, and consider the number of years and professional, and by professional I mean career-based work experience you bring to the table. So a recruiter may say, hey, the range for this position is $38,000 to $62,000. Don't automatically assume that you're going to get $62,000. Nor would you want to take a job probably at the top of the salary range, because that may not leave you any room for growth or merit increases down the road. So if the range is $38,000 to $62,000, I, as a recruiter, may not give you the exact range. I may say, hey, this position pays anywhere between the high 30s to the high 50s, and it depends on your experience. And what that does for me as a recruiter is it does give me a little bit of wiggle room, because if I have the perfect candidate and I can go to $62,000, I'd rather quote them in the high 50s than be able to negotiate with them if they'd like to negotiate. If they don't, then they come in at the high 50s. But if you're new to the workforce, expect that your degree is going to help launch your career and get you in the door. But remember, you have to start at the lower or the lowest number in that range. And again, you need to gain the experience.
Great. So a question that I think a lot of people have is, when is the appropriate time to walk away?
In my experience, there have been a few times that people have walked away with salary, especially if we're so totally misaligned. But I don't think it's usually what drives folks away. I encourage people to look at the entire package. Is this a company you want to work for? What are some of the other benefits besides salary? You know, maybe they're paying $10,000 less than you want. But then I want to do a little bit of calculation with you. Math is not my strong suit, but try to follow along here. Let's say a company is going to offer you $30,000 a year, and it's a job that works 40 hours a week. So do the math. If you're working 40 hours a week, and there's 52 weeks in a year, the hours that we anticipate you're going to have total in the course of a year is 2,080. So if you take $30,000 and you divide it by 2,080, that comes out to $14.42 an hour. But really, you didn't want $30,000. You wanted $40,000 going in. But the position that you're going for, that may be paying at the $40,000 range, actually, you've heard about that company, and they work 50 hours a week. So now let's do the math for that one. If you're working 50 hours a week times 52 weeks, you're suddenly working 2,600 hours a year. And even though you're at $40,000, when you divide it by 2,600 hours, you come out with an hourly rate of $15.38. And when you talk about the difference between those two, It's about $1 an hour difference. So it's now up to you. You have to decide, how valuable is my time? Am I willing to work an additional 520 hours per year for the extra dollar per hour? I can't answer that for you. That's your choice. But I would encourage you to consider company culture, the hiring manager who's probably interviewing you at some point, how the work experience can build your resume. Once again, look at the overall benefit package. You know, do they have health insurance, a 401k? Do they offer holiday pay, paid time off? There's more to factor in besides salary. You're going to know whether you feel comfortable with the job offer or not. What you want to do is start a new job feeling good about your decision, including salary, even if not exactly what you hoped for.
Great. Thank you for those fantastic responses. I'm going to hand over the mic to Megan now, where she's going to talk a little bit more with Sandy.
Thanks, Jordan. Sandy, just a few more questions, some of which are follow-ups to some things that you've already talked about. But what are some appropriate ways to open the negotiation conversation, like specific sentence starters, if there's a time when there isn't really a clear entry into the whole compensation conversation?
If you're the candidate and you're going through this process and it's the later stages of the interview process and you think, you know, at what point are we going to talk salary? Feel free to introduce that. You might want to say something like, wow, you've painted a really great picture of the duties and responsibilities related to this position. I'm really quite interested in pursuing this opportunity with your company. But at this point, you know, I'd really appreciate learning about the compensation piece, just to be sure we're aligned. So that way you've introduced it. It's not like, you know, right off this bat on a phone screen saying, okay, how much does it pay? I'm not interested. You've learned about the company. They've learned about you. It looks like it might be a good match. And at this point, it's like, all right, I think I'm good with this job. I think I like the position. I think I like the hiring manager. Let's now talk about the compensation piece.
Well, and that goes nicely back to what you mentioned earlier, in that you have to let the hiring manager, the recruiter, know, I'm interested in what I can bring to your company as far as my abilities and what I can do to help move forward any of the strategic priorities that they have outlined. But this still also allows you to get your point across too, which is, what are you going to pay me at the end of this? So I think starting out by what you said, kind of complimenting their job and painting a great picture and then bringing up the financial piece is a really nice segue. And you touched on this briefly as well, but what are some of the other things that may be on the table if salary isn't a place where there's any wiggle room? What are some other things that a candidate could ask for, ask about, look for, try to negotiate?
Hopefully the recruiter has really tried to sell you on the culture and the unique benefits of the company, especially if they feel they can't provide you your desired salary. You know, there are some companies that offer tuition reimbursement programs to go get a graduate degree. They may even offer partial reimbursement for your health club or your gym membership. Other workplaces offer weekly beer and wine on Friday afternoons at 3 or 4, and that's really a great way to start the weekend early and socialize with your colleagues, kind of in more of a non-work-related setting. Some companies have a CEO book club where the CEO actually selects a book, employees opt in to read it, and then they come to a book club discussion led by the CEO. And it can really serve as a great opportunity to get some face time with the CEO and learn how the CEO thinks. Most companies will do either a company picnic, some type of holiday party. There may even be periodic office raffles, pizza lunches. I've seen companies with birthday bagels once a month. Depending on where you're located in the United States, it's possible that the company may offer you either public transit reimbursement, paid parking, or a toll pass at a reduced rate. These are all kind of small gestures, but they add up, and they're outside of the actual salary offer, but they do make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine for people that live in a more metropolitan area, having access to public transportation and having the company reimburse for that would be a huge part of their yearly expenses that could be compensated. That's a great idea. Also, I mean, birthday bagels, I don't think it gets much better than carbs first thing in the morning to celebrate birthdays. Thank you for that chuckle. Is it appropriate to ask for time to consider an offer? So when you connect again, if you do take some time to consider the offer, when you can connect again, is negotiation an appropriate time during that second conversation? Or what do you recommend with regards to if somebody makes you an offer, kind of what the next steps are from that time forward?
Usually what occurs is you finalize the interview process. They've gotten down to one or two candidates, and the recruiter will actually reach out to the successful candidate and make a verbal offer. And it may be the hiring manager that calls, or it could be the recruiter. Once that is made, you typically have it followed with a written offer letter, and that's usually emailed to someone, and that will contain like the position title, who you will report to, whether it's a salary or hourly rate of pay, whatever that amount is, and a tentative start date. A lot of times candidates will say, please send me the offer and let me take a look at it. I can tell you that in today's world, most offers are going to be contingent upon the successful completion of a post-offer background screen. So even if you get an offer letter and you agree to start on this date and you like the salary and everything's good and you sign it, it's probably not a done deal yet. And I tell folks, don't quit your other job until you successfully pass the background screen. Companies do different things, but usually that screen will include a drug test, a criminal background check, definitely work-related references or personal references that you know from some of your volunteer positions or things in college, things of that nature. So what I would do is I'd recommend that you be excited about the offer. You ask for the written offer letter, and you ask for at least 1 day to consider accepting the offer. That is totally normal. Most people want to go home and discuss it with somebody, mom, dad, husband, whatever. You can simply call back the next day, and this could be a time, your final time actually, to negotiate for salary. You can say, hey, after you thoughtfully considered the offer, you wondered what, if any, room there may be to increase the salary to whatever amount you want to increase it to. If the recruiter says, hey, I have absolutely no wiggle room, we made the offer with the best offer we could give you, then you're going to have to make your own decision on whether to accept the original written offer or gently tell them that, hey, you appreciate their confidence in you and your ability to fill the position, but you're going to have to respectfully decline because you don't think it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and just thank them for their consideration. And it's okay to do that. Very rarely do I have somebody that just accepts on the spot, sends me the offer letter back within 5 minutes. They want time to think about it.
Sure. And I that's a perfect segue kind of into the last, it's not even really a question, more of a statement. But if you ask or negotiate or ask for something and the answer is a flat out no, you have a couple of ways you can respond, right? You can accept it and move forward with a good attitude. You can accept that no, but not accept the position. Or you can accept the position and be bitter about them saying no to what it was you tried to negotiate. And being bitter and feeling slighted isn't really going to yield anyone any positive results. And I was just, as I mentioned, that's more of a statement, but what are your thoughts on kind of those three different scenarios when it comes to somebody's response when you're trying to negotiate?
If the recruiter says to you, listen, there's absolutely no room for salary negotiation, my recommendation is for you to please respond professionally. Let the recruiter know that perhaps this isn't going to be the best fit for you and the company. Wish the recruiter well in their continued search for the perfect candidate. Tell them, you'd like them to keep your resume on file because you realize that this is a great place to work. It's just not the right position for you at this particular moment in time. And, if future opportunities arise that match your skill set, you'd appreciate hearing about them. and that as kind of a proactive step, that you will continue to periodically check their careers page, their website, and contact the recruiter if you find another position that might interest you. That way you haven't totally closed the door, but you've kind of said, hey, this is not for me. I'm not going to come in and be bitter. I'm just going to professionally step aside. But I want you to remember me in case something does happen in the future that I would fit again.
Mm-hmm. That is such great advice. I mean, you never want to burn a bridge. You never know when you might need to cross it at some point down the road. So that's excellent advice. And really, Sandy, thank you for all of your thoughts today, and to Jordan for coordinating and moderating today's webinar. This information is so invaluable and will hopefully guide some of our participants today as they navigate the job market. Whether you're somebody just coming fresh into the job market out of school, or you've been in it and are looking to switch things up a little bit, I think there are definitely things that you shared, Sandy, that are applicable to any stage of the game when it comes to hiring, negotiating, and going through that process. Sisters, as we wrap up our time together today, the link is on the screen, and I am happy to send that to you after the fact too, if need be. But please use the link to complete a quick survey about your experience and be entered to win one of those awesome prizes I talked about earlier. And we hope you'll join us for future A Clear Vision of Life opportunities. Our next set of challenges launches the first full week in August and will be focused on mindfulness and the ways in which the 5 elements of well-being intersect with that very hip concept. We hope you'll continue to be inspired to realize your potential through these challenges offered in this program. And I want to say thank you one more time to Jordan and Sandy for your time and expertise that we had today. But thank you to everyone for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.